Well, hello. Decided to do another video about my garden. Wanted to show you a few things. First off, my peach tree here. You know what? It's doing a lot better, isn't it? I planted this a couple of years ago. Now this year, I cut out the main leader that would have taken the whole thing probably about another 3 or 4 feet up by this point. I took that out, it's down here, to keep the lateral branches. And then I'll probably take out a couple more of those that are more vertical, that are trying to reassert as a main leader. I want to remove that from the tree. That way they're growing open, and get more sunshine in the middle, better quality fruit, more fruit. And speaking of fruit, yeah, we got fruit. See here? We got peaches, and there's just loads of them over here. The tree is filled with fruit, so it is doing well for only a second year. Didn't expect that. And back here, my potatoes, they're doing okay. I had a little bit of something going on in here, losing some color on some leaves. And so what I'm gonna do is, I've already treated these, and they're gonna be doing all right, I'm sure. I've just gotta make sure that they're taken good care of. So the potatoes are doing all right. Let's take a look in the high tunnel. Let's see how the rest of the vegetables are doing. Come on. I'm heading over toward the high tunnel, and I wanted to show you, I've got behind here, I've got a lot of peas that are growing. These are coming up, and I'm gonna be vining them up this, all right? So I've got lots of peas, I mean lots of them, all behind these pots. These pots are doing their thing. My peppers aren't doing very well. I have a hard time with peppers. I'm gonna figure out what I'm doing wrong. And I've got plants coming up over here. So we've got some tomatillos coming up, cucumbers have come up. The tomato was transplant and it's recovering. So let's look inside. Things are looking good in here. Rich, full. I've been pulling salads out of this. Tell you what, there's nothing like a garden fresh salad. I had one of my viewers mention, as of the last video I did for the garden, that they didn't believe that you get asparagus from asparagus fern. Well, it's true, you don't get the asparagus from the fern itself, but the fern is the same plant. And I think that person might have thought, and I'm not sure, might have thought that it's two different things. So let me show you something. All of these fern stalks, these are actually asparagus stalks, okay? That's what they are. Let me get down here. I'm gonna pull out these weeds and try to lift this up and back and show you. Down here, we have some fresh coming up right there. That's fresh asparagus right there and right there. These little asparagus stalks that are coming up down here, that is the stuff you cut. That's the stuff you eat, okay? And the reason I'm not cutting it and eating it right now is because I'm trying to get the plants to be hardier and stronger. They're not strong enough yet to constantly produce good asparagus. Like these are putting off stems that are way too small, okay? And there's a really skinny asparagus stalk right there, little tiny baby one. So there's asparagus all through here, and it's just a matter that the stuff is, it's kind of weird, but it's a rhizome, and once you get it growing, once you get it up and doing its thing, then asparagus is, it's just really cool. It just keeps going and going and giving and giving. So if you're patient for a few years, you can get a lot of asparagus from a few plants. And this whole corner is just going to be my asparagus corner. Now here we got the zucchini plant. Look at that, and it's blooming. Oh, it's so cool. I just love coming into the vegetable garden. You can see the blooms and the flowers and the beautiful foliage and everything. And frankly, it's just really neat, all right? Vegetable gardens, they kind of have their moment, and they're really comfortable. My tomatoes over here, they're getting tall and strong, And where they were, oh, let me see, oh, just I think about 2 feet tall the last time I filmed. And now this thing is out of its cage. It's the center of my chest. They've gotten big. They're already producing tomatoes. I've got tomatoes growing on these, and they're producing plenty more flowers. Now, of course, as I mentioned before, when you get flowers, get a little rough with them. It doesn't hurt it. And if you break a vine or two, that won't hurt it either. So keep them tucked in like I do here. There we are. It'll keep it growing upright and in, and it keeps it from flopping out so much. And it really makes growing the tomatoes a lot easier. Those things I love. So nothing quite like out in the garden, having a seat, relaxing, enjoying yourself. Same thing I'm doing on my tomatoes. I'm trying to do with my zucchini here. I've tried to get this guy so it grows through the cage and using the cage to support it. Now I've already got one zucchini, and it's about the size of a small pickle, about yay big, growing down here on the vine. It's really cute. We got some more blooms, as you've seen. So it's looking really cool. And I've got a big old spider right there. Hello, Mr. Spider. You enjoy it. Okay, so Mr. Spider's taking care of some other issues for me. And some of those issues I took care of yesterday by spraying in here. Now, I will make some recommendations. If you're going to spray stuff like this, go ahead and just use dish soap. Works really well against a lot of the critters that would be foraging in your garden and eating your stuff. That's a good option. Just a little dish soap and some water in your typical garden sprayer, and suddenly you've got the whole thing taken care of. Other things that are commonly used, malathion is commonly used. Daconil, which is a disease control, that's commonly used. You can use, let me think here, 7 dust, carbaryl, which is basically the same thing they crop dust with. Okay, and that's all that is. You're just crop dusting. Okay, carbaryl is considered to be fairly mild on the whole when it comes to humans, and I've been using it since I was a little kid. I can say this stuff really works, but I'm trying to avoid too many poisons in my garden, and there's been a preemptive spray that was done to keep things under control, and then outside of that, it's mostly just the confinement that I'm using, and allowing Mother Nature to do its thing. Like here, I've got a spider on this, and obviously that spider's going to take care of whatever has been chewing on these leaves. I'm good with that. And the same thing that's been chewing on the leaves for the carrots and the spinach and the lettuce. So we got something that likes eating leaves in here, and I was busy dealing with it. And there's a couple of different kinds of critters in here that I've noticed. We got some earwigs. Okay, they like chewing on leaves. And also have, I noticed some roly-polies, wood lice, some people call. And so anyway, we have to watch out for stuff like that. Now down here I've got some cilantro growing, and it looks beautiful. I wish I already had some tomatoes ready to use and some peppers. It would be great to do a garden fresh pico de gallo. I just love that kind of stuff. However, we gotta wait. The onions are still doing their thing, and not well. But I'm going to hit them with some fertilizer, and we'll see if we can improve their disposition. Okay. I understand onions are heavy feeders, and they need plenty of fertilizer during their bulb development. So we'll see what happens there. Of course, we've been having the usual crazy weather of the Texas Panhandle, and that, in other words, we've had triple-digit days. I think one went up to 102 degrees. We've had near freezes, and all of this within days of each other. So the temperature extremes are wild, and it's taking its toll on gardening. And so that's one of the reasons I thought it'd be kind of neat to have a high tunnel like this. get a little more seasonal control, maybe a longer growing season. Who knows? We'll see. Soil prep, we've already talked about that before, but I had somebody ask me, and so what I normally do in my area, every place is different, okay? So if your soil is different than mine, the technique might not work the same for you. But around here we have a really dense clay-like soil. We call it microporous soil, and which means that when it dries out, you see big old cracks open up and form in it, and then when it gets wet, it swells up like a sponge. So the soil is very weird here, and you kind of have to watch out for it. What we do is to add a little bit of material to that will make it a little more loamy. What I like to use is peat moss. I don't use a little of it. I till in a lot of it, and so when I'm basically tilling my garden, this this space in here, if I remember right, took about 3 bales, large-sized bales of peat moss. And that's a lot of peat moss because that stuff comes compressed. The other thing I'll add is just some organic manure, and it's a composted manure. So it works really well as a constant, steady release fertilizer. However, some plants, like onions, as I'm learning, need a little extra boost. So I'm trying to wean myself into that. And I've never really grown onions before. I can't say that I know that much about them. Tomatoes I can do wonders with. I usually do well with squash. There's some plants that I do okay with in my gardens and others I struggle with. I guess that's the same way with a lot of gardeners. Well, folks, take a look around my garden. As you can see, things have gotten a whole lot bigger here. My lettuce is heading up nicely on some of it, and like I said, I've just been pulling out salads and enjoying them, and so this has really been producing a lot for me. It's really neat, and it feels good to reach down and feel good, firm heads of lettuce forming up here. These are the romaine, and it's hard to get them to do that around here with the heat we have. It messes with leafy greens. All right, so I'll do a walk through here so you can see all the plants as we have going on, tell you what everything is, and show off a little bit. It's doing well. There we go. I thought I'd start over here with that asparagus. As you can see, my giant finger, right down here is the asparagus that we were talking about, and that little green shoot right there. And on the other side of the plant over here, there is another one. Let's see if I can get it in focus there. Kind of hard to. Those are some of the new shoots. Just beautiful asparagus. And this thing has been producing really well. I've got some grass and weeds I've got to deal with, but that's just typical gardening. Nothing new there. I have a little tiny, next to that stake there's a little bit of what looks like a weed. That's actually tarragon, or shouldn't be thyme. Thyme, I'm sorry, not tarragon. That's German thyme right there. And then right next to it there is some cilantro. So I've got some cilantro growing there, and some more cilantro growing over here, and interspersed with the ferny looking items, that's fennel, okay? And then the leaves that are a darker green back here, and these down here, those are cabbage. We got some red cabbage there. All right. Now over this way, I've got broccoli that's had a hard time because I had something chewing on it, and hopefully I've dealt with that. Like I said, I took care of a lot of spraying yesterday. A little bitty plant right here, and that would be oregano. All right. So over here, and it isn't blooming yet, but that is the yellow squash. I'm looking forward to it. And down here pretty soon, we should see some sprouting for tomatillos, where these little bamboo poles are that I've put in. Let me back up here. My tomatoes, these down here are a little bushier. The San Marzanos are a little bit more spindly, but they will fill in later in the season. I learned that last year. Over this way, our zucchini again, that beautiful lettuce. doing everything that it's supposed to do. And then down here our spinach, into my carrot bed right there, and then some red leaf lettuce, which isn't so red, frankly. My onions, they're doing their thing. Over this way is a huge tarragon, and at the base of it I have some chives that have gone wild, and that's groovy. We let them do their thing, and I'll just add some more seeds around it. And it just put down a bunch of seeds, so it'll do its thing too. Down here, these little tiny plants coming up. Those are brand new radishes just starting to show themselves into the world. And the plant that looks like it's suffering there, that little almost dead thing, well, that is oregano also, and he's recovering. So he'll do just fine. We give him time. We have little tomatoes, looky there. Oh yeah, all kinds of neat stuff. Okay, so that's the garden. You've seen how it's going right now. Well, there you have it. Thank you very much for taking a look at my garden and enjoying it with me. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click the thumbs up. If you would, drop some comments down below. Also, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. And folks, please, for goodness sakes, have a good day, all right? Oh, now about these onions.